The Mad Cyborg Arc continues in One Punch Man Webcomic Chapter 140. As we discussed, in Chapter 139, Drive Knight talks to Genos and tells him the entire story of the Mad Cyborg that destroyed his home village, who also destroyed Drive Knight's home village, so they are both cut from the same cloth, and Drive Knight asks Genos to come help him infiltrate Metal Knight's, or Beaufoy's, lair, and they'll perhaps have to fight against tons of monsters and robots, etc. in order to find the Mad Cyborg and destroy him. So now here in Chapter 140, we're going to continue this conversation as we learn more about Beaufoy, about how they're going to attack Beaufoy's stronghold together. We learn Drive Knight's real name, and something very interesting happens to Saitama. There is also a death in this chapter, so let's break this down. Alright, so the first most important thing is basically Drive Knight says he knows Beaufoy is investigating him, so like if he goes to attack, like they'll be ready. So he wants Genos to basically go in on a suicide mission to go try and destroy the Mad Cyborg by himself. Drive Knight says he'll probably provide backup here and there, but this is again why we think that Drive Knight is totally playing Genos. This whole thing seems extremely suspicious, and I feel like, as well as a lot of other One Punch Man fans, that Drive Knight is really the true villain here, and he's completely just manipulating Genos. Just a reminder for some of you guys who may not be subscribed or know what's going on, this is the One webcomic, which is the original source material for One Punch Man. It's later then adapted by Yusuke Murata, the guy who draws all the fantastic art, but this is canon material. Further, Drive Knight says that the Neo heroes have been actually helping. So the reason all these monsters are coming out is because of Beaufoy, and as we had learned that basically Beaufoy uses like the organization's test subjects and release all these monsters upon the city with like amplified weapons and machinery built into them and everything. But if the Neo heroes weren't helping out right now, the entire world would be like in pure chaos, and this is why we need to stop Beaufoy now. And upon learning all of this, Genos really wants to go on a rampage, but he somehow is able to hold himself back. This is his whole life goal of revenge and everything. So he says, I have people I trust too. I want to consult with them before making a decision. And obviously that is going to be Saitama and his doctor, who gives him all his upgrades and everything, Dr. Kuseno. Drive Knight says, of course, by the way, my real name is Zero. See you again soon. I mean, Zero doesn't really sound like a real name. That sounds like an alias on its own, but I'm wondering more and more how much these two characters are actually connected. And Saitama's very excited because he's never met the doctor that's always patching up Genos. And Genos says, what is that package you have? And Saitama says, this is just something I brought along to ascertain the true intentions of your doctor. I want to see for myself if this guy is trustworthy. And that's interesting in its own right, because even the doctor, we don't know too much about him. He seems like a nice guy. He seems like he's always helping Genos and everything, but he also seems very similar to Beaufoy himself in that he's like this cybernetics doctor and everything. So they get to Dr. Kuseno's lab. Genos introduces Saitama and tells him how he was rescued by Dr. Kuseno when he was in rubble after the Mad Cyborg destroyed his town. He's a scientist of justice who has given me the power to fight. This is my master Saitama, who I became a disciple of as a benchmark of strength. So Dr. Kuseno says, oh, if I knew you were bringing a guest, I would have sent a jet to pick you guys up. And Saitama says, no thanks, running faster. He's like, what, are you crazy? So this is the funniest part of the whole chapter. I love the comical relief. Saitama pulls out his package and pulls out a Game Boy and says, I don't know if you can fix it, but it's stuck. And Dr. Kuseno quickly replaces the screw on the loose button. And Saitama says, Genos, he seems like a trustworthy person. So I absolutely love this. So now they're going to talk about the whole plan with the Mad Cyborg and what they're going to do. Genos is informing them that he finally has a clue thanks to Drive Knight, and it's kind of a peculiar situation because Metal Knight is part of the Hero Association and he's very like integrated into their whole system. So if they ask for backup from any of the S-rank heroes, it's very possible that those S-rank heroes would let Metal Knight know, and that would ruin their plan because then Metal Knight would just go into hiding and he would know Genos is coming. So this has to be a surprise attack. If there was ever one panel to sum up Saitama's entire existence, it would be this one. He's laying on the floor with his palm on his face and he says, if you're suspicious of this Metal Knight guy, why don't you ask him directly in person? I absolutely love the comedy, man. It's just too good. So obviously Genos and Dr. Kuseno, they disagree because they know this has to be a surprise attack. They can't just go say, hey, do you got the Mad Cyborg stored somewhere? And then he would go into hiding or something like that. Although I don't know why he would go into hiding, but he could definitely devise a plan for survival. And then this part got me pumped up. Saitama says, "Is that so? I don't think you should go in alone. How about I do it for you?" Now, obviously, Genos is going to disagree with this. This is his quest for revenge. He's not just going to hand it over to Saitama. And Genos also wants to get more powerful, and he wants to prove himself here. This is his story arc, and he's not going to let Saitama just one-punch the guy and take all that vengeance from him. So they talk back and forth a little bit. They come up with this plan that Genos will go in and he'll do the fighting, but Saitama says, if you're about to lose, I'll jump in and one-punch the guy, to which Genos responds that, I think even you, Master Saitama, this might be a challenge for. And Saitama says, well, if I'm going to have a challenge, then what chance do you have? And even Dr. Kuseno's like, damn, that's harsh. So I'm really curious as to the power of this Mad Cyborg. As Drive Knight stated, this thing just like goes on a rampage and it's just like unstoppable. Right now, it's just being held as like a secret weapon, as a trump card. There's definitely going to be some very interesting developments in this arc, and that's why it's starting to ramp up and get really exciting, because there's all these connections between Beaufoy, Drive Knight, Genos, Dr. Kuseno. All of these characters are kind of like intertwined, and there's going to be some huge revelations. I can feel like it. The Mad Cyborg, he may not even exist. Like, it could just be the Mad Cyborg could be Drive Knight himself, and I have a feeling that that's what we're actually going to find out later on down the road. And I think Drive Knight is just trying to have Genos and Beaufoy like wipe each other out for his own ulterior motives. While they've shown that Beaufoy is kind of reckless and just does his own thing, doesn't really listen to anyone, they haven't necessarily proven that he's evil yet. And it could be that Beaufoy actually knows that Drive Knight is the Mad Cyborg, and maybe Beaufoy is actually investigating Drive Knight, and Drive Knight is worried that Beaufoy is going to expose him for being like this destroyer. And that's why Drive Knight wants to stop Metal Knight now and get him destroyed before his true intentions are revealed. Dr. Kuseno acknowledges that it was really good that Genos was able to hold himself back from rushing in blindly to go destroy the Mad Cyborg, and saying that, you know, he's still able to hold on to his humanity and hold back when he needs to and have emotions, etc. And I think that's important because Metal Knight doesn't have any emotions. It seems like he's the Genos that lost his side of humanity, which may be the reason that he is the Mad Cyborg, because he has no humanity. He's like an AI at this point. That's just a theory though. Next, something very interesting happens. Genos reminds Dr. Kuseno that he wants to take readings on Saitama's power. And this is getting me excited because I'm like, are we finally going to get to learn some secrets of the limits and the heights of Saitama's true power? So in order to do this, he needs Saitama to sleep in this like pod overnight, and that way he can give him like a physical examination and see how exactly he's so strong. And basically Dr. Kuseno like bribes him with barbecue, he eats, and then he goes into this pod, and when he wakes up, there are these 3 cyborgs attacking, which you'll see on the screen in just a minute. Now, the interesting thing here is that those cyborgs attacking may not actually be reality. There is a simulation that Dr. Kuseno has done called the Virtual G simulation, in which he like puts certain S-rank heroes against each other to like see who will win, but he needs like data on them for a correct evaluation, and this is like part of the reason he's able to upgrade Genos and get him so powerful to the point that he is now. So Saitama being in this pod may just be entering a simulation, and these tests that he's running, here are the cyborgs now attacking, this may just be putting Saitama versus these cyborgs to really grasp exactly how strong he is. So this may or may not actually be happening. This could just be part of the Virtual G simulation, Saitama going into it, fighting these 3 cyborgs and getting the calculations. But it's like he's going into the Matrix right now. But when he wakes up, there's blood on the floor, and we see that Dr. Kuseno is in fact dead. So he may just be dead. Like, maybe Saitama just slept through the whole thing, but I seriously doubt it. I feel like he is inside the simulation now. He's inside the Matrix, and he's going to get up. He's going to one-punch all of these androids, and then he's going to wake up, and Dr. Kuseno is going to be like, what is this godly power that you have inside of you? Now, if Dr. Kuseno is actually dead, if Beaufoy was on to them the whole time, or Drive Knight is in cahoots with Beaufoy and told them of the plans or something like that, then that's going to be rough for Genos, because that means Genos may never even be able to get repaired again, and he's definitely not going to be able to get any upgrades anymore, which means Genos probably won't be able to improve anymore in the anime. So if Dr. Kuseno is actually dead and this is not a simulation, then this will most likely be Genos' final character arc. Essentially, he will end up somehow defeating the Mad Cyborg, achieving his vengeance, and then who knows what will happen from there, but he probably won't be able to be repaired anymore, and I don't know how much more he'll be in the manga after that. So pretty interesting chapter here as we're diving into the Mad Cyborg arc. The Neo heroes also are playing a role here. We got Blast Sun Blue, you know, just thrashing dragon level monsters like they're nothing, and I feel like he may get involved as well at some point, which means is Blast going to get involved at some point? Who knows, but lots of questions are evolving out of here. I love the comedy and the theories that are arriving from this chapter alone. Leave your comments down below and let me know what you think. I'm Mastar, and I'll see you on the next one.